Hello and welcome to Mindset Mondays with DTK. This is episode 65 in an ongoing series of broadcasts designed for folks with a growth mindset or those who'd like to create one to play with new ideas, new concepts, and try on new mindsets. So the reason we're here today is to play with a concept of play. Here's what we want to play with. This is a quote from Emerson, right? Don't be too timid or squeamish about your actions. All life is an experiment. All life is an experiment. Yeah, I find this idea so incredibly freeing. Yeah, and look, I'm not the only one who takes himself or herself too seriously. I'm actually quite skilled at that. I do. I take myself very seriously at times and find that I lose connection with play. I lose connection with experimenting. I try to get things just right. And that can suck the joy out of things. It's not just the piece about being too timid or squeamish. It's not just the idea of stepping back from what could be challenging and being tentative. No, this is about leaning in. The whole idea of experimentation is that it is playing with new ideas and new concepts. Look at what this Mindset Mondays project is. This whole piece is about playing with new ideas, playing with new concepts, playing with new mindsets. Yes, there's something tremendously serious in this if you choose to look at it that way. That go back to our very first episode. Our most powerful weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. So we're playing with the ideas of stress and doing battle and choice and being at choice and owning that. So this could easily be taken, this life could easily be taken so seriously. And yet, the whole concept of Mindset Mondays, the whole concept of this project is playing with new ideas, experimenting with new ideas. When we are timid at how things can turn out, when we are squeamish about getting dirty and playing hard, when we step back from, oh my God, we could fail. And the core of experimentation is trial and error, right? It's playing with something, testing something, and learning from both the failure and the success. When we step back from experimentation, we step back from play, we learn nothing, right? Find the ability to find humor, to find play in anything we do. It's amazing how much more flexible and fluid we can be, how much more experimentation is done. All throughout the years with Digital Positions, the internet strategy and web development company that my partner Beth and I founded and ran for 14 years. Everything within that was experimenting and playing, right? We started an internet strategy and web development company in October of 1995. Oh my God, we had to teach people what the internet was half the time before we could even sell them a website. So there was a tremendous amount of play and experimenting and dancing with new ideas, testing new concepts. Oh my God, playing with different business models over and over and over again, not just with our clients, but for ourselves. And we got to watch so many companies playing with new ideas and new approaches to things. It was constant experimentation. If people stepped back from that experimenting, stepped back from that play, whether you like some of the larger examples or not, whether you like Amazon or Zappos or Netflix, everything we see around disruption started with somebody experimenting with a new idea, started with somebody playing with a new idea, a new concept, right? Everything started with play and experimentation. What if people got squeamish? What if people got too timid? What if people didn't lean into that play? Every major shift in our business back then, every major shift in my life was experimenting with something, playing with a new idea. When Elaine started looking at what she wanted to do next in her world, Elaine is my wife, who's also a coach. And when she started looking at what she wanted to do after, or to go back into the working world after having kids, she started experimenting with the idea of all kinds of different therapeutic work, from clinical social worker all the way through psychiatrist, psychologist, into therapy. And as she experimented with that idea and did research and went deeper into learning what that would take and started getting ready for the GREs, somebody suggested that she be a coach. And after responding with, "What's a coach?" She got a chance to play with that idea. And that turned her path dramatically. If she had been squeamish or timid about experimenting with a new idea, something she wasn't already familiar with, she wouldn't be where she is. And frankly, living with her for that first year while she was becoming a coach and growing unbelievably, I wouldn't be where I am. I witnessed her growth. And yes, not only did I love who she was becoming, and I wanted some of that. I wanted some of that growth. I also realized that she was outgrowing me very quickly. But that's the playground. She didn't get squeamish about the new idea, the new playground, the new action. She didn't get timid about choosing a different path, one that she wasn't familiar with already. She leaned in. She played with the idea. And only by experimenting with something, only by playing with a new idea, do you see how well it fits. You know, it's interesting. Neil's bringing up that piece about Google. One of the things Google does is allow for 10% of, I think it's now 10%, team time to allow them to work on any project they want, to play with new ideas, to experiment with new ideas. And when you look at things like Google Maps and you look at things like Gmail, they all came out of that employees experimenting, playing with new concepts and new ideas. Several of their core products come out of that experimentation, that playground. When we give folks the opportunity to play, they learn. When we trust folk to experiment with ideas without structure at the beginning, to learn through play and through experimentation, oh my God, when we are timid about play and squeamish and we put it into this happens after hours, when we don't allow humans to play and experiment, we hamper we limit what's possible. You know, there's so many opportunities for you to play with new ideas. What's waiting for you to experiment? What's waiting for you to play? What can you experiment with? What can you play with? What ideas are bubbling that you're like, oh my God, I couldn't do that. And whether it's because, I can't do that because it won't fit into my world, what will people think, what will happen at work? What are the things that you're squeamish about, that you're leaning away from, that you're shying away from? That new idea that's been percolating for your business model that you want to play with, you want to experiment with, that new content idea, that new hobby, the new thing to do with your kids with your spouse? What could you experiment with? Neil, who's on the live broadcast right now, has been playing with pens. In fact, I have one and use one. He has leaned into playing and creating and experimenting with pens and making things. What's waiting for you to experiment with? What are you shying away from? What are you being timid about? What are you squeamish about? That you could stop taking yourself so seriously and lean into the experimentation and the play. The world is rich with possibility. We need only lean in and play with a new idea, a new concept, a new game, a new tool. Gamification has become such a big piece. I don't have a points of view sitting right here, but there's a coaching game called Points of View, YOU, that two coaches in Israel spent 8 months sitting on a beach playing with how do we gamify and how do we bring play and imagery and concepts into coaching to help unleash and open up creativity. They played with a new idea, they played with new concepts, and they kept fiddling with it until they got it to a place where they wanted to bring it out to the world. Points of View, YOU, Points of View is a phenomenal tool for bringing imagery and concepts into a coaching space to open up conversations that may not have opened otherwise. They didn't just experiment and play with new ideas, they brought experiment and play into a structured format. There's a game that's used for team development, team facilitation, and group dynamics work called Vulnerability is Sexy. Their Kickstarter program ended about a year ago, and the product's out in the market. Again, it's another opportunity to take play and experimentation, not just in the product development and model development area, but take it out into the workspace in a safe environment that allows people to use play and experimentation to discover new ways of being. What a cool opportunity. What's waiting for you to experiment with, to create what's next? So Monday is the beginning of a week. Each time we have the opportunity to dive into a new concept and a new mindset and play during the week. So for you this week, the opportunity is play with play, experiment with experimentation, open up new ideas and play with them and see what comes up. Stop taking life so seriously and start enjoying it. It's what we're here for. New play, new experiment, new ideas. So between now and next week, what mindset will you choose?